Scott Kammerer, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. Before we jump into anything, I first want to say thank you because back when I was in the hospital, laying in an ICU bed for the first week,
Yeah.
you and SoDel fed my family the entire week, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
Yeah, we never met.
We never met until just 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. When your dog tried to attack me.
My dog tried to attack you. Yeah, a little
It's
shit.
a French bulldog.
Yeah.
It wasn't a real attack.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
But man, that meant the world to me and my family because that was a chaotic time, dude. And that was just
Absolutely.
one thing they didn't have to worry about. And,
Yeah.
I told a lot of people along the way, you probably got it all the time if they said something, but hey, thank him for me. But
yeah.
now I get to meet you, so.
Yeah, you know, it's like I always feel like it's my responsibility in the community to do what we can do. And, you know, there's a lot of things we can't do, but we could feed people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I just thought at the time, I'm like, you know, here's a guy that's out there protecting me and my kids from some of the worst people that there is.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it shook me up too when that happened. I was like,
Yeah.
you know, like, and the whole situation, I was like, you know, like I said, I didn't even know you, but I was like, here's a guy that like is putting his life on the line for us.
Yeah.
So we can do what we can do. And, you know, the least I could do is, least we could do is try and help a little bit. And, you know, I think when you get in the restaurant business too, like, you do it because you like to feed people.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the name of the game.
Like you like to feed people and that's the least you could do. So it's funny you said, because I hadn't thought about it in years.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you said about being on the podcast, I was like, you know, it's funny how stuff comes full circle. And, And, you know, like with you, like, and me and guys like us, like, you know, we put it out there into the universe good. And, you know, and we do our part. And sometimes it comes back. And sometimes, you know, sometimes people, you know, don't, you know, you never hear again of it. You know what I mean? Which is good too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a good thing too. So, you know, I'm glad to see you're doing good. And you certainly look healthy and healed.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I mean, you
a little
look
bit of work put into that.
You look ready to go. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah. And it's funny how that goes. Yeah, so you've been doing good. So you feel
man.
You feel good.
I got no complaints.
Yeah,
life is good. I'm happy. Family's healthy and happy. Like,
yeah, nobody will listen anyway. Nobody cares anyway if you complain. Yeah.
I just do this shit now and have some fun.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the best part about being a man. I'm like, I never really complained anyway. I'm like, that's good because nobody cares anyway.
Nobody cares.
Nobody
man.
gives a shit.
No
what
one
you
cares
say.
but yourself. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean, like, make it happen, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I wanted to start out with that.
Thanks.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate it, and I'm glad to see, like, you know, things are good, and that, you know, you got a beautiful wife and house and family.
Thanks,
and you're doing good things for the community, and you know, and you figured out a podcast. I mean, I was talking before, I was like,
I'm still figuring it out.
I'm of the wrong generation to be figuring out that kind of stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm 43 and I'm like trying to figure out the social media shit and everything. It's a rough one.
You got to hire a 14-year-old, you know. You got a 12-year-old, right?
Get
them to do it.
Oh, dude, he's not big on the social media shit. He's like baseball and whatever else.
That's probably good.
Yeah, it's good. I'm not complaining about it. So.
Yeah, so I asked my sons, you know, I have one younger son, and he's like, oh, you're an embarrassment, Dad, that you can't figure it out. I'm like, okay. You know, I'm always like, you know, for a group of people that rely on me for everything, you're very low on you're not very, my popularity is very low for someone that your very existence depends on. You know what I mean? Like, especially when they were growing up, I was like, man, you know, like, you guys are busting my chops. I'm like, you should be building me up and supporting me. They're like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, man.
You know, so.
All fun and games, man.
Yeah. And it's, you know, we grew up with all boys in the house. So, you know, it's totally a different vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's feast or famine, you know, it's like survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
You know,
so real quick, just so people know, CEO of SoDel Concepts, which in my opinion is like the restaurant group, at least in this area for sure.
Yeah. Thanks.
And we'll jump in all the restaurants here in a little bit, but where are you from? How'd you grow up, man?
Yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey, and I grew up in South Jersey and then in Central Jersey. And I always tell a story like the defining moment of my life. I was like a knucklehead a little bit, and getting in trouble, and not on the right path. And I had a principal who took an interest in me, as principals do. And he
Yeah.
was like, "Look, man, you got a choice. You could either go to detention every day," and this was like September. He was like, "You could either go to detention every day for as long as you're here,
Yeah.
or you can go to wrestling. You
Yeah.
can wrestle." And I was like, I'm gonna have to think about that one. Because that was the kind of attitude I had at the
Yeah.
time. And I was like, I don't know, man. So anyway, I come back and I was like, I'll do it. I'll wrestle. And, I ended up at first being terrible, but I was like, you know what, man, this is what God meant me to do.
Yeah.
Like I was like 75-6 in street fights. So I was like, I think that's what he saw, you know what I mean? Converted
You
to
got
like,
somewhere to direct that.
yeah. I had,
aggression
I
to,
had pretty good, I had no training, but I had pretty good record. So, so I started going to wrestling every day, and lost a bunch of matches and didn't do good. And I was like, I looked around. I was like, why not me? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, why can't I be a state champ? Or now I'm in New Jersey, and there's all these nationally ranked guys, and New Jersey only has one state champ, and people dedicate their lives to it. Of course, if I knew all that at the time,
Right. Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have made that my goal. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to be a state champ. I think I'm going to be. I want to be a nationally ranked All American. I want to be the best wrestler that ever came out of my high school, which I ended up not quite being the best wrestler out of my high school. But that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was, I had no. It was literally the stupidest goal, especially at that time. So I went all in, and I started training, and I started doing everything people asked me to do. Hey, what do you think? What should I do? Oh, you should get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and run. All right, great. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. All right, great. What should I do? And then one of my coaches gave me the advice. He had gotten it from Dan Gable. If you could train while other people are sleeping, now you could really get the edge.
Yeah.
So I was like, great. I would wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, go to bed, wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, train from 1 to 3.
Yeah.
So then I really started getting good. And, my junior year I was undefeated, and ended up losing in the States. I got hurt, and then came back my senior year, was undefeated, was a state champ, was an All-American, got named on all these national teams, got offered all these full scholarships. And here I'd gone from, basically failing out of school and getting in trouble and being in detention, to being one of the top recruits. It helped that I was a heavyweight, because there's not as many heavyweights in the world, and to being one of the top recruits, for a heavyweight. I got a full scholarship to college. And for me, what it really unlocked was that the difference between where I was and where I went was really my mindset, my attitude, my ability to make a plan, my ability to go all in and not be afraid, or not be like embarrassed if I failed, which holds a lot of people back. So I went all in. I went when I say all in, man, I went like.
Were you like that before that? Were you like purpose driven?
No, not at
just
all.
Kind of kicked it in.
It just kicked it. And I always say, like, a lot of young men, they're just looking for a mission. You know what I mean? They're just looking for something mission driven, something goal driven that they could get to. And for me, it was like perfect, And I remember in my high school, they had a picture of, we hadn't had a state champ since forever. And then we had a picture of this guy, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And that was it. It was like that. And I think sometimes in life, it's that's and that it was fortunate I'm like gigantic with great hand-eye coordination. You know what I mean? Like that was really helpful. And I had access to some really good training. They actually opened the next couple towns over. A guy was training for the '84 Olympics, and he had started a training facility. Just randomly.
Yeah.
And you would go and work out, and if you went and sparred with them all week, on Sundays they would teach you.
Oh,
nice. They would teach you. So I ended up working out with all these guys, and then I came back 1 year. I came back like my junior year, after training with these guys that are training for the Olympics all all summer and just like started demolishing people. And somebody grabbed me like, who are you? You know, where'd you come from? And I was like, I'm not really. I'm just, you know,
I'm just
anyway.
here.
Yeah, I'm just here to do it. So anyway, that stuck with me really for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it changed the whole way I looked at the world, and it just changed everything for me. And that principal took an interest in me. I don't even remember his name. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I don't
right.
even remember this guy's name.
Yeah.
And he just changed my life forever. And you know, so fast forward, you know, I go to college, and you know, I had struggled with addiction all my life, and it kicked back in. So I ended up washing out, and you know,
Where college you go?
I went to Lock Haven, and then I went
to wrestle.
to wrestle.
Big wrestle school, man.
Yeah, big wrestling school. So we were really good. There were some guys on the team. You know, we had Kerry Colad, who was a 2-time national champion, and now I'm showing my age. But we had some really good guys, and I started my freshman year. Was it true freshman? Maybe my redshirt freshman year. And then you know, I just fell apart. I was smoking and you know what I mean? Like I just wasn't, you know, it just wasn't there anymore.
Just lost the niche.
I just lost it. And it was like, you know, talk about a low point. I was
what do you think did that? What do you think took the drive out?
You know, I think like I like to blame some of the addiction stuff.
Yeah.
But I think like, you know, we have seasons in our lives, and you know,
my
it's
wife
just,
says that all the time. Everything's a season.
Yeah, everything has a season, and I wasn't mature enough to see. And then I remember thinking like, oh, this is the end of my life. I'm like, dude, I was 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know, like there's so much out. You know, I'm in my 50s now, and I'm like, I'm making like 30-year plans,
Right?
You know, and I'm like, oh, I could even do longer. You know, I mean, if the good Lord will have me, you know, I mean, I can make a 50-year plan. So, anyway, so, you know, I met my wife, and she's from here, and we had been coming down here, and I left school and came here, and really didn't have anything. You know, I had a bike, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't have a license because I got a DUI. and
so you came down. So you left college, no degree.
I left college, no degree, no money, no really anything, kind of. You know, but I was fortunate because I had some. I was raised good, and you know what I mean,
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And I had my, you know, my history of wrestling. So anyway, so I say the only job, but like, you know, like most people, you with no training and no degree and no anything, we'll take you in the restaurants. Like we'll take you.
Right.
We'll take you today,
Yeah.
and we'll teach you everything.
You're breathing. You're in.
Oh yeah. You got a peg leg, as long as you got a kickstand on it, we're good to go. So you know, so we'll take anybody, and if you have a desire to get better and to learn, and you have a lot of energy, restaurants are like never-ending source of like, and I needed, like, I was like a Labrador, man. I needed to be worked out. You know what I mean? So I started working like crazy, you know. I was working breakfast at this place. I was working lunch at another place. I was working dinner, and then I was bouncing at night.
And what years was this?
This is like the early 90s.
Okay.
So like I was working at a Mexican place called Dos Locos, which has since moved. I was working at the Seahorse, which has since been out of business for 30 years. So I was working at the Garden Gourmet.
Yeah, man, this is back when like the wintertime here was wintertime.
Oh,
like there was nothing open.
Yeah, which, you know, people all the time, they're like, oh, you must be so happy that it's so built up and developed. I'm like, oh, I kind of liked having winters off.
Yeah,
you know,
and
yeah, well, we used to close right after Labor Day, 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And then we used to close for 3 months. And I remember I was telling someone this story the other day at the Seahorse. I swear to God, 1 November, the first 3 weeks, we did 0 dinners. 0. 0. And I remember like, it's not that bad every night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you know, now like some of the restaurants do like a couple hundred dinners. So it's changed a lot.
Right.
But you have to be on. The difference is now you have to be on all the time.
Right.
And it used to be you'd have all this time to regroup. So anyway, so I'm like washing dishes and bussing and doing this stuff. And I'm like 19, 20, 21, 22. And I'm looking around. I'm like, you know what? I think I can do this.
Yeah.
I like legit. It's same thing like with the wrestling, you know.
But you had
same
no
thing.
direction on what you wanted to do in
No,
life.
I had no training,
you were just
no
like, I'm gonna do
direction.
the restaurant shit.
Yeah,
for a while.
and the restaurants, like I always say this. I'm like, the restaurants were the only thing that would have me. I'm sure other places would.
Yeah.
But Uh, and then also, like, I was getting sober,
Yeah.
so I really
While you were in the
yeah,
restaurant
well, actually, I was bartending,
and you were getting sober
I was
then?
getting clean sober, yeah.
Bro, that's wild. You were
Well, it was probably one of the stupidest ideas,
I mean,
but
that's good that you started that way, but it's
yeah,
hard,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
being a bartender and working in the restaurant
yeah.
business, like, getting into it and getting sober while you're doing it,
So
that's
it's
tough.
funny, so then it gave me, like, this, like, competitive advantage
Yeah.
because I was, like, one of the few. So then I remember getting my first management job, and the guy's like, "Yeah, you're okay, but, I mean, at least you're sober." You know what I mean? I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll take the job." So that was kinda how that happened, and, I remember I was making, $18,000 a year, and I
Yeah.
thought, "This is pretty good." You know what I mean? Like, "This is pretty good," and I had the opportunity for healthcare too, so anyway, so I'm working my way up, and I was just one of those guys, like, same thing, like, someone was like, "Oh, there's a new restaurant open." I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see if they need help.
Yeah.
I can help them build it. I can help them design it." And then, like, this guy, I'll never forget he was the consultant at the White House. He redid the menu at the White House, and then he was coming to Rehoboth to do a project. His name was Mike Ikamura Shiro. He was from Tokyo, and, I read in the Cape Gazette, pre-internet. I
Yeah.
read in the Cape Gazette that he was going to do a project in Rehoboth, and I was like, boom. So I walked down. It was like a block away,
Yeah.
and I said, "I want to introduce myself. I'm a local guy, and I'm 23. I want to come work for you. You don't have to pay me,
Yeah.
but I just want to learn from you." And he's like, "I don't know. I got to think about it." And I was like, "Bro, I'm free." And he was like, "You sometimes free is not free." So anyway, he ended up paying me $5 an hour, and I worked for him for a whole winter,
Yeah.
and he let me do everything. So he was redoing the menu. He was changing the food costs. He was redoing the training program. He was doing all that stuff. And he was like, "All right, I'm going to let you do it all." And he showed me how to do it.
Yeah.
So I essentially learned all this about the restaurant business at that time. I started buying books and devouring books. I started taking whatever job and project that was exciting and new and different. So I would like be cooking at one place, learning how to like break down a side of beef. I was like working at another place, learning how to work the door. And then I wrote out my whole plan on like how to be successful and everything I needed to learn. And then from like each, I worked at the Starbird to learn about how to work the door and
Yeah.
bouncing. And then
Every aspect of the
every
business.
aspect, you name it. I worked at the Boardwalk Plaza to learn
And you were
about room
intentionally doing that, like
service.
looking at all these
Super
different
intentional,
aspects. Yeah.
super intentional. And I remember a lot of people being like, "Oh, you seem to job hop a lot," and I was like, "I'm not job hopping.
Yeah. You're
I'm getting
preparing.
I'm getting a PhD.
Yeah, you're preparing.
I'm preparing." And so then one day at an AA meeting, on the steps of a church, I met a guy who had just gotten out of his halfway house. He learned to cook. He had been in the restaurant business all his life, kind of thing. And then he decided he was going to move to Rehoboth and open a restaurant. So I'm on the steps of this church. I'm at, meeting, whatever. And it's, Matt Haley. And he says, "What do you do for a living?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in the restaurant business."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Me too." Of course, found out later he didn't have a job or a restaurant at the time. He's like, "Me too." He's like, "You want to start a restaurant empire?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll start a restaurant empire." Yeah. Because I'd been trying to do that this whole time. And I
dude,
was
that's
like, "Yeah,
great.
bro, I'm so in." And then I was 23.
Yeah.
And he's about 18 years older than me. So he was like in his early 40s. So I go home and I tell my wife,
That makes it even better.
"Oh yeah, dude." Thinking about it now, like, could you imagine
Oh,
telling
man.
some young kid like, "Oh, bro, we're gonna start a restaurant empire"? Turned out later he used to tell everybody that. I didn't know that. He told like a million people that. I was the only one stupid. I bought.
Oh,
I
man,
bought
that's
it.
awesome.
So I go home and tell my wife. I'm like, "Oh, baby," and she was always trying to get me to make friends because I didn't have any friends. All I did was work. We
Yeah.
had young kids. It's like with guys and they're, and I was like, "I think I made a new friend, and we're gonna start a restaurant empire. I'm gonna quit my job." And she's like, "No, no, no," because like I had a job and we had a house and we had patio furniture and you know what I mean. I had health insurance. She
Yeah.
was like, "Please God, no, no, no." So anyway, so Matt says to me, I was running a restaurant in Rehoboth that just I was all in, man. I was working all the time, and we won best restaurant in Delaware. This would have been like 94, 5, 6, 7, maybe 96, 7. And we won best restaurant in Delaware that year. And the owner was cool because he would let me do everything.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, thinking back on it now, why not? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I was like, can I do the schedule? Can I cost out the schedule? I'd like to cost out the whole menu. Everything I learned from the Japanese consultant, I was like, can I do here? Can I do here? And it worked.
Yeah.
And we were making bank. We were printing, not me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was making $18,000 a year, but it was printing. It was killing it. It was so busy. So Matt goes, all right, well, where do you work? And I was like, right there. And he goes, all right, I'm going to come watch you work. This is the working interview. Meanwhile, he didn't have a job or anything. So he's like, this is going to be a working interview. So he comes and he's drinking coffee and he watches me the entire night.
Yeah.
Like watches me. And he kept asking me, because I looked young too.
Yeah.
He's like, are you sure you're in charge of this place? And I was like, yeah. And it was just one of those nights, man, we were just like so busy. There was a line out the door. No other restaurants were busy. And it was just, everyone was perfect. So at the end of the night, he goes, I'm going to get up with you and we're going to do this. And I was like, I felt like I passed the test. Little did I know it was going to be the next 30 years of my life, like grinding it out, you know what I mean? Not sleeping. And so anyway, so my wife's like, no way, you can't do it. You're not allowed. And I was like, so I still go to Madison. My wife told me I'm not allowed to start a restaurant empire with you. And he goes, all right, what's your favorite food? And he was renting this 1-bedroom place in Dewey in a winter rental. It was like $150 a month.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's your favorite food? I'm like, oh, she likes filet. And, he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to invite her over. I'm going to cook a beautiful meal for her. And by the end of the meal, she's going to agree that you could do this. And sure enough.
This is a great plan.
Oh, dude, this is how multi-million-dollar empires are built in Sussex County. So anyway, so we go and he cooks this beautiful meal on the outside grill and we leave and she was like, that guy's got something. She's like, all right, let's do it. And so we got a couple consulting projects and then he opened a restaurant on his own and then like I opened one and like we were like working together and then when I had gotten really good at it, was like by like maybe like 2012, I was pretty good at it. You know what I mean? Like I was getting pretty good because I had been, overseeing, 5 or 6 restaurants at the same time and really like focusing on it. And so then he named me president of the company because he was going to start doing like philanthropy work, and he had gotten sick. I mean, this is all in he was an open book. So he had gotten cancer and so he gets cancer and he's like, I think I might die soon. So I really got to start turning stuff over to you. And I was like, it's one thing when like you're the number 2 and you get told what to do and you carry it out. It's a hell of another thing if you're the number 1.
Right.
So I was like, please God, like I'm not ready for this. So he goes into remission. He's totally fine. And this was his life. He had a reporter from one of the magazines following around, like chronicling this whole thing. So he had just won a James Beard Award. This is, when Matt Haley was really, he was really gotten successful. He had won a James Beard Award.
How many restaurants was there at this point?
We had like 8.
Yeah.
We had like 8 restaurants and a consulting company and a concession company. Maybe we were doing like, I don't know, like we were serving like maybe 2,000 people a day kind of thing at the time, or a little more. So he wins all these awards. We go to New York City, gets this award. We go to James Beard House. He's basically like winning every award and like all the big chefs, like Emerald is like calling him and wants to do stuff with him. So he goes into remission. And he's feeling great. And he's like, I'm going to go to India and go on a motorcycle tour. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And he's like, well, it's going to be the most dangerous road in the world. He went with a group of guys. He had been there maybe like 5 or 6 times. Okay. And he was doing a lot of philanthropy work in Nepal and India at the time. He was doing like the Cook Stove Project, which is, it's crazy to think because, we live in America. But like in parts of India and Nepal, a lot of people die from carbon monoxide poisoning because they have open fires. They don't have chimneys and they don't have stoves and no electricity. Yeah. So they're like dying from,
Oh, wow.
So anyway, so he's gonna go on a motorcycle tour. This is how he lived his life. So he was like, I'm gonna scout out Indian food in case we open an Indian restaurant. I'm gonna enjoy my time on a motorcycle. I'm gonna scout out villages for the cook stove project, and I'm gonna chronicle the whole thing, and we're gonna make a video out of it and possibly a documentary. This is the guy's life. You know what I mean? And I was like, totally always blown away by him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like totally was blown. So, Matt Haley, like, talking about he was an inspiration to me because I was a guy that like I felt anything was possible,
Yeah.
and I felt like I could do anything, and if I focused, put my mind to it, and worked. So one day he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to go to Nicaragua to visit." So he goes down to Nicaragua, ends up getting all these computers from the U.S., shipping them to orphans in Nicaragua. He was on Good Morning Nicaragua and met the president of Nicaragua. He just went on vacation. And that's all a true story. And I was like, bro, like really? Like, and this is pre kind of.
He was a shaker and a mover, man.
Oh my God, dude. He was the man. He went to Cuba. And
He went to Cuba?
he went to Cuba early on. So he's coming back from, this is a perfect Matt Haley story. So he's coming back from Cuba, gets detained in the Miami airport. They put him in jail in Miami. He had been in Cuba with some artists. They put him in jail. Basically, I think they didn't want him in Cuba. So they put him in jail. He calls me. He's like, "This is my one phone call. You need to get me out of jail. I'm in Miami. I could stay for a while if I have to." So I call the lawyer and I'm like, "How much bail is it?" They're like, "It's $10,000 bail, or he could stay till his pre-trial, whatever." So I was like, "All right." So we paid the $10,000 bail to get him out, and he was pissed. He's like, "I could have done 30 days standing on my head." You know what I mean? I was like,
My God, dude.
I was like, let me flip it for a second. We were partners, I said, let me flip it for a second. If I'm ever in prison in Miami, get me out right away. Like, I don't care what you say. So anyway, he was just a really wild guy when it came to that. He never graduated any school he ever went to, but he gave the commencement speech at all the colleges around here. You know what I mean? So anyway, so he was like a hero to me and a real inspiration. And he, was just like this amazing guy. And here he is, and he goes to India on this trip, and he's driving the motorcycle, gets hit by a truck, and dies. And here we are.
What was? How did you get that call? Like,
It's the call that everybody. I'm sure the call that your wife got, the call that we all dread for our family and friends. 3:00 in the morning. And I get the call. And they're like, your partner, your best friend, the guy that's been your mentor that, for the last, decade and a half is on the side of the road to get hit by a truck. And the guy that called me was on the side of the road with him. And I was like,
How do you? So he just picked up the phone and saw a random number and called you? Or?
Yeah, Matt was one of those guys that was always always stayed in touch with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he had a guy that he went on these trips with. So I was
Gotcha.
always in contact with. And believe it or not, we produced a movie together. So and the guy has another movie. He's since passed away, but he has another movie coming out that we've been working on. So anyway, Matt was another guy. Alex Pyrie is another guy that's very, I don't even know Alex Pyrie, but he's a local guy that's very similar to Matt. Like Matt would be like, "I want to do a movie." You know what I mean? He would find a director and finance it, and then he was in a movie. So I was like, I didn't mean to talk about Matt the whole time, but
No, that's good.
But Matt one time was like, "Hey, come over to the house. I got to talk to you." And I get over there, and he was having a glamour fashion shoot with himself. And I was like, "What the hell's going on?" He's like, "I don't know. I felt like I met this photographer. She's taking pictures of me, and and then when he passed away, we ended up using one of those pictures for all of his stuff. So I put that picture in all the restaurants that says mentor, founder, mentor, friend, and there's a picture of that restaurant, picture of him from that day in every restaurant and every project we've ever done. So anyway, so he passes away, and I get the call, and I was like, I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? I was like, I do not want to do it. I do not have the confidence. I do not have the ideas.
Yeah. to step into that role.
Yeah, and thinking back on, I'm like, 8 restaurants, if I could do that on my head, you know, I could do that now, no problem. You know what I mean? I could do that with 3 people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But at the time, I think on the way up, like stuff seems so overwhelming.
Yeah.
But once you get to a point, like to start back over, like I always say, like, you know, when my oldest son got through college, I started back with my younger son, and I was like, oh, I don't take it anywhere near as serious, the youth sports, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like with my older son, I would like lose sleep over like
Yeah.
pitch counts and everything. So anyway, so we have these 8 restaurants, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then like, you know, this is Delaware for you. So like Chris Coons, who was a senator, would call me all the time, and I was like, I really don't think I could do it. He's like, yeah, well, when I was tasked with stopping famine in Africa, I thought too. And I was like, all right, man, like that's.
All right, you got me. All right.
You got like 8 beach restaurants, bro. Like, really, come on, man. Like, you can do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then the guy that was the economic developer for the state of Delaware at the time, Alan Levin, was a huge help, and he helped me, and you know, he ended up being my, you know, my partner now, and you know, has been like a great mentor to me, but totally different than Matt. You know what I mean? Matt
Yeah.
was like, you know, I got this brilliant idea. You know, make it happen, and then like wouldn't talk to me for 2 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he was a great, you know, he was a great partner because he would inspire you. We started this catering company, and so he says, oh, you want to start a catering company? And I was like, yeah, I want to start a catering company. He's like, hold on. He goes and gets his notebook that he had sketched out when he was in prison, and there was the logo of a catering company. And he was like, oh, here's the logo we should use. I sketched it when I was in solitary or whatever. I was like, holy cow. Okay. And sure enough, we ended up, when Markel got inaugurated the first time, that catering company that we had built up, cooked the food for his inauguration. So it ended up being like a whole big story, big, you know. And then we did this dinner at Baylor at Baylor prison, in the prison.
The women's prison?
In the women's prison, yeah. That catering company did. And I ended up being the keynote speaker at their graduation, at their high school graduation for their GED. And I was like, oh, great, you know, I'm going to be the speaker, Baylor. Okay, like how many people are graduating? How many women are graduating with their GEDs?
4.
2. Yeah. 2. And here's the best part.
2.
One was a valedictorian, and the other was a salutatorian. And let me tell you, they were so freaking happy. And I gave the whole speech, and they were like so happy. But everybody was there, like everybody. And I was like, you know, one of them had life too, and I was like,
man,
you know, what are you doing this for? And she's like, I still want to better myself just because I'm here for the rest of my life. And I was like, yeah, that put it in perspective for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I really got to keep my complaining to a minimum, you know, in my life.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
She's
Like,
sitting in prison the rest of her life, she's still trying to better herself in some way.
yeah, that was like
something.
so inspiring. And then another, the salutatorian, I'm not saying it right, but they've been working for us for like 10 years now.
No shit.
Yeah, she's like great. She's like best employee ever. She's a manager. And it just goes to show you, you never know. You know, you should never know how it's going to shake out. And you put the good out there in the world, you know, and you hope that, you know, it comes back. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, I put it out there all the time. You just never know. And you don't expect anything back from it. You just hope that,
Right.
you know, that, you know, if you put it out there that, you know, it comes back. But, you know, talking about adversity. So anyway, so now I got all these restaurants, all these people staring at me, and I was definitely not rich enough to own 8 restaurants at the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I definitely wasn't. And so I ended up owning these restaurants, and
It was 8 at this time?
it was 8 in the catering company. But it was like a high profile thing because we won all these national awards, and you know, people are like, oh, it's gonna fail because Matt was the whole guy doing the whole thing. And I was like, oh, that's all I needed to hear, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I needed to hear. Like,
Yeah.
you really want to challenge me? You really want to go at me? You know? And I remember looking myself in the mirror. I was like, you can do it, man. I'm
Yeah.
like, you faced bigger adversity. Or actually, I hadn't, but I said that to myself. I was like, you had faced bigger adversity and you can overcome this. So I actually took it and ran. And, you know, now we've kind of built it into today. You know, we have 30 businesses, and, you know, we're the second biggest employer in Sussex County. And, you know, I think like what's most helpful is that I have bandwidth that I can do things in a positive light. You know what I mean? Like, if I push in on something, I can push in and really make a change. Whereas before, like I had a lot of ideas, but I didn't really have the bandwidth for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like I can really change lives for the positive. And, like if I flip and decide, to use a local purveyor, we can change their whole trajectory of their company. You know what I mean?
And
Because we're
Matt's vision
buying.
was to continue growing, right?
I mean, he had a lot of visions. So yeah, I mean, he had a prison notebook that had this whole thing laid out.
Yeah.
And he passed away like 1/5 of the way in.
Yeah.
So like,
Did you take some of those ideas that he had?
yes and no. Like he and I were very, very, very different in a lot of ways because I believed in like methodical structure, building.
Right. He just wanted to jump
And he
in
was
and do
like, he's like, "What are you, a pussy? Come on, do it." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
right.
that's what he was like.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I was saying I was gonna tell a story. So I was like, I want to start this catering company. So I'm like shooting basketball in my driveway with my kids right here. And he pulls up with this van with the logo on the side. And his girlfriend pulls up behind him and he gets out, gives me the keys and says, "Here's the van. We're gonna start the catering company. It's your responsibility. Make it great." Got on the car and left. And that was all he said to me about it. He never said like, "Oh, well, what's your business model?" He never said any of that. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. And I basically went back to shooting baskets, with my kids. And they were like, "What's that van doing here, Dad?" I said, "I got to start a multi-million-dollar catering company by the end of the week." But that was he knew my number because he would challenge me. And that was, you need to surround yourself with people that either push you or pull you or challenge you, and you don't always like it, and you don't always think it's the best thing, and sometimes God puts them in your life, and it's a surprise. But, Matt always knew that about me, and he would always say, "You're so smart, you figure it out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? How dare you say that?" And I was like, and then I would go all in on it, you know what I mean? And he was perfect for me, like absolutely perfect. And that was a godsend. Someone said to him one time, they're like, "Well, you're lucky Scott does all the work and makes everything work." And he goes, "Don't ever forget who picked Scott and put him in this position." And I was like, when I heard him say that, I was like, wait a second. Is that what happened? So anyway, like I have people now that I like help and plan and build them up and get them to a certain spot. And every once in a while they'll be like, "Are you planning my whole life? Like, are you planning my whole career?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm planning your whole career because that's what we do. That's how we are successful." And so anyway, so fast forward to today, and we are big in some ways, but in other ways we're still just a small mom and pop kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like we are in Sussex County, and we are in the restaurant business, so we ain't IBM. You know what I mean? And we ain't nothing like that. And we're small enough that when people call me, we can make the decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when people are like, like the at Cape Henlopen at the high school, the concession stand, the freezer broke. They lost all their food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they call me and they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. We'll take care of it." So we filled it up, got them a new free, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? So you need like local companies like that have that bandwidth that can help.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't need to be so big that you lose touch with like who's in charge and who's doing it, but you need
got
to
a whole
have
chain of people to
you got so like Grotto's back in the day, man. If you could get Dom on the phone, you could get whatever you wanted. You know what I mean? Like I remember calling him for Rehoboth Little League. He's like, "What do you need?" I was like, "We need a sign. We need a." He goes, "I'll do it all." You know what I mean? And then years later, I remember calling and being like, "Dom's not available."
Yeah, you're not
getting to him. Yeah. So and he's phasing out, and then Jeff Gosner, who's a new guy, he's kind of phasing in. So it's like, people around here know who to call when they need help and when they need stuff, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of local business people. That's what I love about this area. You know what I mean? There's not, I think people move this area and they're like, "Oh, so that was like this big company." I'm like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? It's still small enough and local enough that we can make a positive difference in people's lives, And, talking about adversity, my position now, you better be down with it. You better be down with failure and adversity, because every day, you got all these people, you got thousands of people working. We're serving 2 million people a year. Shit's going. We're allowed to curse on this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so shit goes wrong every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's always something.
Oh my God.
There's always emergencies.
Like it's a miracle that anything works. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, you better be down with like somebody disappoints you, somebody like something breaks, something falls apart, somebody's leaving, go back to Pennsylvania, take care of their mom. You know what I mean? So like that's all day, every day. But on the flip side, it balances out because like, somebody will call you, say, oh, thank you for doing this nice thing. I want to be on your podcast, so that's like, you put that in the positive ledger, so like my whole day evens out,
Right,
but it's all adversity, it's all challenges, and at my point now, what comes to my desk is whatever the hardest, most difficult thing that people can't figure out. And I've hired people that in the area are the best at what they do.
Yeah.
So when they can't figure it out, it comes to my desk. So all of a sudden, like, all my problems are like really hard ones, but there only might be like 6 or 7 in a day. But everything I'm tackling is like really difficult, and a lot of it is like new.
Right.
I'm like, oh, what are we gonna do about that? I never heard of that before. You know what I mean? Like that's a new one. Like, oh my god, like we laugh about it. My COO was like, oh, I got one for you. You know what I mean? Like not only did a car hit one of the restaurants, but the person's like laying on the ground, and we gotta do this or that. And I was like, all right, so we actually went through a stretch one year. We had 3 restaurants in 1 year burned down. And then one other year we had 3 restaurants get hit by a car. So, you know what I mean? Like, but I was like, so when the third one happened, I was like, a standard operating procedure. You know what I mean? They were like,
same
what?
as before, guys.
Yeah. I'm like, come on, we got it. And so, I mean, the one hit Surf Bagel. I was like, and here's the best part. We got so good at it now, she stayed for lunch after she hit it. Which was the best.
She had to get her bagel fix, man.
Yeah, she had to get her bagel fix. So,
what was the first restaurant you guys opened together? What's the?
It was called Redfin.
Redfin.
Yeah, it was Redfin. So that was another one. That was like, I thought that was the stupidest idea ever, and I was like, it was called Luna Tuna. It was purple. It was in the middle of nowhere. Now it's in North Bethany, surrounded by beautiful homes.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, this is terrible.
Well, there's not much around there then.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, this is going to be the most successful restaurant in Delaware. And I was like, bro, you're really out of control now. So, of course, we win the award. Yeah. Highest grossing per foot restaurant in the history of Delaware. Like something like that. You know what I mean? And every time we win something or like it does really good, I'm like.
Shaking your head.
I'm like, yeah, I'm an idiot, But, yeah, so Redfin, so he had a different partner. And Matt and I we butted heads a lot.
Yeah.
We were like a bad couple. We'd break up.
Yeah.
And then we'd get back together. Like, like you're the one. I'm really sorry. You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, so we were different levels of partners and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And I learned though I don't treat my partners or people I do business anything like that. Like I just could never do it. You know what I mean? Like Matt had a level of hardness that I just don't have. You know what I mean? Like I just don't have that level.
It sounds like he was pretty like easygoing, like get along guy.
Yeah, he was, but he was also like hard. He was a hard dude. So, I mean, it was good. It was good, but it was like in some ways you can learn what you don't want to do around people, and you can learn what to do. So I worked at this restaurant. I was like, I'm gonna write everything down because everything they're doing is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, so I learned from Matt some of the things I didn't want to do as a leader, and how I didn't want to run things. Like I believe, we were the first restaurant group to go to. I know it seems crazy, but we went to 5-day work weeks. We went to health insurance. We went to paid vacation. We went to paid continuing education. Stuff that was like, what are you out of your mind?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was super progressive at the time,
right.
And now, like, if you didn't do that, 401k, I remember we did 401k. People were like, what's a 401k? And then I was like, it means that you can retire and not eat cat food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the best things I've done is, I was on the Delaware Restaurant Association during COVID.
Yeah.
So I remember them saying, hey, you're going to be the head of the Restaurant Association. Don't worry. It's like a no call, no show. It's like an honorary position. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I kid you not, a month later, all the restaurants closed because of COVID.
Oh, man.
And they were like, oh, we need you to like save all the restaurants. And I was like, wait, what? I thought this was a no call, no show job. I thought it was an honorary thing. And they're like, oh no, now we got to go all in. Like, so I was like, all right. So I ended up like on the phone calls every day with the governor and, you know, all these people and doing all this stuff. And I was like, I barely graduated high school. Like, I'm a cook. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm responsible for the whole restaurant association. But, you know, Carrie Leishman, who was the head at the time, she's like, you can definitely do this. This is just another challenge in your life and you're going to overcome it. And I was like, I wonder if she really believes that when she was saying that to me.
It worked
was
out.
like,
I mean, I thought everything went really well.
oh my
around
God, it
here.
was a miracle. And
I mean, it wasn't great for restaurants, but me as a consumer, I was like,
yeah,
I kind of like walking into a restaurant and not having to wait right now.
it was incredible.
No one's cramping my style. Like,
Yeah, dude, it
I
was,
was like, this is great.
it was
man.
incredible, and it ended up being like a really good time. And
Yeah.
you know, we thought we were like, we're going out of business. Everyone's going out of business, but anyway, I ended up fighting tooth and nail, you know, for the restaurants, for everything, and you know, I had to learn everything about COVID and percentages and this and
Yeah.
that. I mean, it was like, it was a lot, but you know, I'm a kind of person that thrives on challenges. But I do not like I get thrust into stuff
Yeah.
and then I'm like, all right, let's go. We
make it
fighting?
work.
Like, let's go.
Figure
You know
out
what
a
I
way,
mean?
yeah.
Like hands up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like keep your left up, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's that's the kind of stuff I get thrown into. Anyway, so we do this whole, you know, restaurant thing. And then they're like, oh, well, you should be on the National Restaurant Association now too. And I was like, I don't even want to leave like Dewey. Like I want to go on my boat and be in Dewey.
Right.
And they're like, oh no, there's a meeting in Chicago next week. You got to go. So anyway, so I ended up being
man.
on the National Restaurant Association post COVID, and that ended up being a good thing. But I ended up getting a positive out of that, like all the cutting edge ideas, like that people were talking about. I'm like, I'm gonna bring that back to Sussex County. So like a lot of the stuff that we started doing were like ideas I got from like LA or New York or whatever. So I ended up hiring a guy to do AI in all the restaurants. So that ended up being like this like really cool, interesting thing that I'm doing now. Like he's AI enabling like the menus and
Oh yeah.
he streamlined payroll and he did this and he
Just
did
makes
that.
it so much smoother for you.
I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know what AI was. And I was like, no, it's bad. It's going to take jobs.
Yeah.
And he was like, stop watching the news. Like, it's going to make your life easier. And it's going to streamline things so people have time for other stuff.
Right.
So, you know, we switched all these computer systems and switched all of our networks and, you know, just moving forward is really what the name of the game is.
So it really
you
helped
know?
employees too, because it took a load off of some people.
Dude, it was a miracle, you know. And like I said, I had no idea what AI is. And now we have calls, you know, we have a once a week AI meeting and we're like, all right, what do we want to tackle now? And I'm like, I don't know, we can do anything. You know, I mean, this thing could
sky's
do
the
anything.
limit,
I don't
right?
even know what AI is, but I think it can do anything. I think it could solve all of our problems. It can't, but you know, so we're trying to figure out how it could do the inventory and how it could help with the ordering and the scheduling and all this stuff. But you know, humans still has to do it.
Yeah,
It's
right.
not like
Yeah.
it's not like they're like, oh, it's not Terminator 2.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It ain't
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's more like it's a big calculator crunching numbers to make your
Yeah.
life easier.
It's a giant tool that you guys have. in
You
the
still
toolbox.
need the humans to make the decisions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's basically now you sit around for 4 hours and then decide if it's right or not. Is really what it comes down to. And then you know, one of the other things, so I started. So, you know, I've always struggled, especially from wrestling. You know, I was working out, burning like 5,000 calories a day. So I always kind of struggle with my weight a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
lot, you know. And so I got a trainer and he was just like the best trainer ever. You know, he's been training me by myself.
Yeah.
And then I was like, we should open this up to like some employees, you know,
Right.
because if have all these resources, like,
Yeah.
I'll just give them to the employees, you know. And I started training a couple of employees, and then we built a gym in one of the basements, and then COVID happened,
Yeah.
and then we started training out of there and out of the basement, and then we were training like, you know, 10, 20, 30 people like a week.
Yeah.
And I was like, we should open this up to more people. So now we have a gym
That's
and
great, man.
and he's training. It's called SoDel Well, and he's training like 300 employees a week. And they come, they work out. We have classes, and like, you know,
That's awesome, man.
yeah,
Not
and
just for your physical health, but mental health and everything.
yeah,
I mean,
and the
that's
team works
awesome.
out together. Like
Yeah.
we were deadlifting.
You're building relationships
yeah.
even more now.
So like the president of SoDel, the director of marketing for Surf Bagel, the head brewer are all like deadlifting together. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man.
And then like after a while, I was like, yeah, you know, like this area is really cool because all the restaurateurs get along. It's not like competitive.
Right, yeah.
People sometimes think it is, but it's not because, you know, people go out to eat a lot and you don't just go to one restaurant. Like, you know, you go to whatever excites you
Yeah,
or
and
like
it's
you
so
have a favorite.
populated down here now.
It's yeah, there's and the restaurants support each other and they all get along. People come from outside this area. They're like, "What? You guys don't hate each other?" I'm like, "No, we love each other. Like, the more the better."
Right.
You know, a rising tide rises all ships. So anyway, so I opened it up to other restaurant groups. So then, like, you know, the Starboard bartenders are coming and working out. Yeah, it's awesome. And the people from Finn's, the chef from Finn's works out with us, and like the owner of Finn's and the guy that the Crooked Hammock people are coming, and all of a sudden it's like this whole restaurant thing.
You got a whole community now.
Yeah, Henlopen and City's working out with us, and then we just added yoga. Now we got yoga. We got like
that's awesome,
HIIT fitness. All these, so we got all these classes. So I was looking around the conference room the other day. I'm like, damn, we got a lot of in shape people. I'm like, oh my god,
best looking restaurant.
I was like, yeah, we might not be the best looking, but we might be in the best shape.
That's great.
So, but then some of the other restaurants, you know, are really taking advantage. Like I feel like half the damn staff at Henlopen City comes and works out.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's awesome.
And one of the owner of Starboard's wife comes and works out with us. So the owner of Finn's works out with us. So it's like this whole. And it's like, you know, it's like a whole subculture of restaurants, you know, like we work crazy hours. We're under all this pressure. It's alcohol, food, and people, three like crazy stressful things.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I think it's like a release and people like, you know, can be together and get along and not. So that's been cool. And then I started this other company called Restaurant Techs. So every restaurant has a POS system, you know.
Right.
And then every restaurant has a network system, which I don't know how that works either, but that keeps everything secure. So we contracted out a company, and they did a terrible job on all of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, we could do a better job than this. So someone's like, well, why don't you do it? And I was like, okay. So we ended up hiring these two guys, and then my older son got involved. So we ended up starting a company called Restaurant Techs, and we do all the point of sale systems in our restaurants. We do all the technology, the AV, the cameras, all that stuff. And then the guys were like, yeah, well, you know, we have 30 places, whatever. They're like, we could do more. And I was like, okay. So we started, we got this relationship with Toast, and which is the biggest POS provider in the country. And we're doing installs for them and all over the state. And you know, we're doing installs like every week, and we got like 100 clients, and you know, created like these tech jobs in Sussex County.
That's wild.
That's wild, dude. Yeah, and you know, it's like ended up being like this cool, successful thing.
Yeah.
It's not that successful, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not like Blue Coast Bethany successful, but like it's pretty good. You know what I mean? And the guys got trucks. They go around, they fix the stuff, and then I was like, yeah, this works so good. Why don't I do it again? So we had an in-house department that was fixing all the equipment.
Yeah.
And, you know, this goes back to like challenges and adversity. I'm like, shit's broken all the time. It's the worst in restaurants. Like, think about your house. If you had like 500 of your closest friends come over and get drunk every night, you know what I mean?
Right.
What would your house look like?
Exactly,
You know what I mean? And what would your fridge look like? So
Right.
that's basically what's going on in the restaurants. So we started our own company called Coastal Restaurant Repair, and we do all the equipment, the walk-ins, the freezers, the hood systems. We do all the stuff that breaks in restaurants. We repair it
You
in
guys
our
are like
restaurants.
totally self-sufficient.
Yeah, we're totally self-sufficient. And we started doing other restaurants, like my friends that have restaurant groups, and they were like, hey, who are you using for, you know, oven repair? I said, oh, we got our own company. And they're like, oh, we should start our own. I'm like, yeah, we'll do it for you. You know what I mean? Like,
That's wild, man.
yeah, so we do like, I think we do like 75 of the restaurants in the area. We fix the stuff, you know, and we did like Station on Kings, who's like the nicest people in the world.
That place is great.
You know, oh, they're so nice. And like, you know, she's like, thank you so much for coming and fixing. I'm like, it's the only business I've ever been in where people are like, oh, thank you so much for doing it. Usually they're like, can I get it for $1? She's like the best people in the world. You know, we do Agave, we do all these restaurants. And yeah, so it's like becoming like I'm becoming like vertically integrated, which I have no idea what that term meant until we started doing some of this stuff. And this guy's like, "Oh, you're vertically integrated," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Really, our shit was broken, and we had to figure out how to fix it."
Yeah.
And so anyway, so we're doing that, and it's kind of it's been interesting because I don't know a lot about those businesses, so it's been humbling.
Yeah.
So if you think you have a big ego running one business,
Right.
get into another business. You learn real quick.
Yeah, it's gonna simmer you down.
Oh, baby, you ain't that smart. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't no genius. You're average,
Yeah.
which is fine. You know what I mean? And
Right,
some of
yeah.
my team that, like, was getting pretty cocky on, winning some awards and doing some stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, figure out the accounts payable at Coastal Restaurant Repair and what's the markup and how much of this and da, da, da. And they're like, oh, what?
Bring
So,
them right back down.
yeah, oh, yeah, you
Yeah,
ain't
yeah.
that smart. So anyway, and I just think, like, there's so much adversity in the restaurant business. Talk about adversity. Like, if you like it, if you like a challenge and you like adversity, like the a storm like that nor'easter cost us $100,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people are like, why do you hate storms so much? I'm like, if someone stole $100,000 from you,
Yeah.
every time it rained,
Yeah.
you think you would hate rain?
Yeah.
So I'm being facetious in a lot of ways. So, like, how do you handle the challenges of coastal storms?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, we got procedures. So, like, you have to video everything in the restaurant for insurance purposes. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
wow.
And there's certain, like, sandbagging procedures, and, like, you get it down after a while, and it's like, the one thing that pisses me off though is when, like, they hype a storm that was never meant to be real or wasn't ever going to
'cause now
happen.
you're wasting resources.
Yeah, like, you're wasting resources. Like,
Yeah.
look, like, don't make it up, like, or at least, so then we started reading our own stuff. Like, you
Yeah.
can go on Tropical Tidbits and all this stuff now, and you can figure it out yourself. And
Yeah, as I feel like that,
You
a lot
know.
of times around, they're hyping shit up, and it's like nothing even happened. Like, it
Yeah.
didn't even hit us. You know what I mean?
I think, like, people move here from somewhere else and they're like, "Oh, hurricane's gonna kill you." I'm like, a hurricane has never made landfall in Delaware.
The water's too cold up this way.
Yeah, I'm like,
not,
you
yeah.
ain't gonna die from a hurricane.
No.
You know what I mean?
Storm or something once in a while, but that ain't nothing.
You might fall down your steps at your house and die,
Yeah.
but it ain't gonna be because of a hurricane. So anyway, so I think it's just, same with snowstorms or whatever. But dealing with that, this outage, I never realized this. So the outage from Amazon really messed us up. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
messed up, like, everything. And you know what's really crazy? That outage from Amazon, it was the slowest business day of the year because people had to deal with it, and we're like,
No kidding.
it was the craziest thing, dude. That's how like technology
That's wild.
rules our life. Like, people didn't go out to
Yeah.
eat.
People just, that's crazy, man.
They were like, well, internet's not or whatever. I don't know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like the Wi-Fi's broken. We got to stay home. Or like, my son didn't have class at University of Delaware because he's like, oh no, the system's out. We can't have class. I'm like, can't have class. They're like, oh, the smart board doesn't work or whatever it is.
That's
I'm
wild.
like, you got to be kidding. This is a couple days ago. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was like, that's how much,
They rely on it, yeah.
So I met with our tech guys. I was like, hey, we got to do something about this. You know what I mean? Like,
That's wild.
yeah. So anyway, so like that's, no matter how big you think you are, there's always challenges.
Yeah.
Like, small restaurateurs be like, oh, I wish I was you. It seems so much easier. I was like, well, think about it this way. What are the headaches you have in the day from one restaurant or one kid or one job?
Yeah.
Imagine multiply that times,
Yeah.
that's how many headaches you're going to have. So if you think that's easier, congratulations, but it's harder. But someone that likes hard, if I liked easy,
Yeah.
I would not be doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I liked easy, I would have done a different route.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you like hard, this is a thing for you. And
I think, like, there's always going to be challenges. And I also think, like, there's always somebody out there doing it better or at least different than you that you can learn something from.
Yeah.
You know?
And, I would say about restaurants, like, it's great to have diversity of restaurants.
Yeah.
Like, the more businesses that are successful and diverse, like when Salt Air, we opened Salt Air, and then the Henlopen City opened next to it, and they both got busier because there were two successful restaurants next to each other.
Yeah.
And, I push that all the time, and people think I'm crazy. I'm like, the more restaurants, the better. The more businesses, the better. The more everything, the better for the area, you know. And it makes competition, it makes challenges, you know. It makes all this stuff that makes things, you know, sharp, and it makes job opportunities. You know, when I first got here, you had to leave. Like, you couldn't live
Yeah.
here and work.
End of the summer, you were done.
Yeah, like, and
Yeah.
you if you wanted a job in like marketing or tech or shit, anything, you know what I mean? Like, you had to leave. You couldn't be here. But now, like, we're hiring kids that graduated from Cape, went to college, came back, and they got jobs. They're in our marketing department. They're here, they're that, you know, and you can get jobs. You could start companies. You could do this. Listen, this area is incredible in that
Yeah.
the amount of opportunity here is off the charts. I mean, you could start a company tomorrow doing power washing and have your whole thing full.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you have that type of
Right.
energy and drive and
Yeah.
gumption, and, you know, I mean, look at this podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, let's start a podcast. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Like,
man,
yeah,
I
let's start a
started this
podcast.
thing in like 2 months. We were rolling, bro.
Yeah, you're rolling. You got guests, and, you know, and you call people or you email people, and they're like, yeah. I mean, I'm sure people, you know, are happy to come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
do it. I mean, it's you know, I've done more podcasts this year than I've done. I did a TED Talk this year.
It's a big thing. Oh, did you do a TED Talk?
Yeah, it's called something else in Delaware.
Yeah.
But I was really scared, and I was like totally intimidated, and I really
Public
worked at it.
speaking is, yeah, it's rough.
Listen, it's one
Yeah.
thing to like have a conversation, but like, hey, go up on the stage for an hour and entertain me.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to listen to myself talk for an hour.
It's
you
tough,
know?
man. I do that a lot. I did
Yeah.
2 last week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
it's
man.
crazy.
I remember the first one I did, I was like, what the fuck am I doing, man?
Yeah, yeah.
But
No
now
one
I,
wants.
now I do it all the time. I travel the country
Yeah.
and do it. Now I love it. Now it's fun.
You know what's crazy though? Like, when you don't get interaction from the audience. So I didn't know. So I usually will speak at a group, and there's like somebody, you can look at somebody in the audience, or look
Yeah.
at, and they'll give you some reaction. You could tell if you're doing good.
Yeah.
So I did this. It's called Grit Talk. So I do the Grit Talk, and I get up there, and I was never on stage in my life, and I never did theater. So they shine the lights in my eyes. I can't see the audience, and I can't tell. And I led with a joke, and I was like,
Nothing.
and they were like crickets, and I was like, ooh.
Rough
I'm
one.
like, bro, if I'm gonna bomb for
Oh,
an
dude,
hour,
I've had that happen before too, man.
so then I found out later they told him not to react,
Not to react.
and I was like, I guess I should have known that.
Dude, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've told a joke before, and like
Yeah.
nobody did anything, and then I just make fun of myself because nobody made fun of the joke, and then they laughed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have
just
to
gotta
remember
roll
that.
with it.
I just roll with it. I was like, and then I was like,
But they told him not to, if they told him not to react to it, then you're screwed. It was
well, I
like,
didn't know that. Yeah, I
yeah,
was like, I
damn,
totally
you should have told me that.
yeah, like I was like, they said, hold your comments, your applause, your questions, and don't react because they're gonna cut it together or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's like a TED talk. They don't want anybody reacting.
Yeah, they didn't want anybody reacting. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, how do I know if I'm doing good or bad?
You don't.
And I'm like, I'm going to tell the audience what they want to hear. And they were like, the audience is in the camera. And I was like, oh, that's not good for me. So anyway, so I did okay. And some people watched. So I had a meeting the other day with this guy 2 days ago. So I'm like, you know, he asked me to come meet, just do a potential deal, whatever, which cracks me up all the time because, you know, so poor and bootstrapped for so long.
Yeah.
For people to call me and offer deals. Oh, how about this deal? We'll give you $1 million, do this restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't know. Let me think about it. You know what I mean? Like, dude, if someone offered me $1 million when I was getting started, I'd be like, I do it. I signed the paper.
Yeah, I'll do
Something like
anything.
that. You want
Yeah.
my kid? You know, what do you want? So he's like, oh, I in anticipation of this meeting, I watched your TED Talk or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is that what that's really about now that I think about it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it is. It's out there for
Networking.
posterity, networking. And like, he felt like he knew me and knew what I was
Yeah.
about. And he's like, oh, I really like this and this and this about you. And I was like, oh my God, I guess I said it on the internet, like everything. So
Yeah.
it was very interesting for me.
That's one thing I
you
learned,
know?
man, is like with like public speaking, like just be you.
That's the easiest.
thing.
That's the easiest shtick to do.
Yep.
You know,
Just
and
be
you got to
you.
know your audience. You know,
Yeah, you gotta know your audience.
Yeah.
and, you know your delivery with certain things, but at the end of the day, like just be who you are.
Yeah, and that makes it the easiest, so you don't have to like remember like a shtick or like write it
Yeah.
down. You know, yeah. I mean, that's, you know, in some ways I wish I was trained formally in speaking and stuff.
I wasn't. I just
No, I wasn't either.
Like the podcast,
Yeah.
shit, I just jumped in. Dude.
Yeah, but sometimes you think like, well, maybe there's some structure to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How you stand and how
Yeah.
you deliver, but you know, that could be good, but you lose some of that authenticity
Yeah.
when you do it. But I never, I never in a million years thought that restaurants or chefing would
Yeah.
be involved in like public speaking.
It's wild, man. Everything is like can get there now. I feel like
They got
from
me
the
once.
business.
So they get me this one time. They're like, "Hey, will you come? We might need you to say a few words." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Well," I get there and it's Sussex Tech, and it's all the students, the eighth graders that they were trying to recruit to come there the next year.
Gotcha.
And it was like 500 people in the auditorium.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Parents and kids.
parents and kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, our keynote speaker for the
And
day,
you're like, what?
Scott Kammerer! And I was like, what?
Did you have anything prepared?
No, I had nothing. So they go, oh, we just assumed you're like a professional speaker. You had something in the can. I'm like, in the can? Who has a speech in the can?
That's brutal.
And they go,
dude.
speakers do. I'm like, I'm not a speaker. I never said I was a speaker. So I did like this whole big spiel about like, at the time I had like 5 GMs that graduated from there.
Yeah.
And they were all like great kids and
Yeah.
successful. So I did like an hour on that, and
they got you on that.
they're
one.
like, yeah, oh, they got me good. She got me good, and the same woman's got me a few times.
Yeah.
But she knows my number now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like, so I was thinking, Scott, you could do this, and I was like, just tell me what to do. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
I tell you, the other one that got me all the time was Carla Markel, Jack Markel's wife. She'd get me all the time. She'd be like, Scott, do you mind coming to the? I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. Yeah. Well, she was always very kind to me and everything. But yeah. I was like, and yeah. So anyway, so I learned my lesson then, and then I was like, I better get a speech in the can, which whatever that means. So I wrote a speech and had like a
Yeah, I
standard
have like a
speech.
list of like certain things that just like plain Jane where I can like fill in what I need to fill in them and it makes sense still.
Yeah.
I have a couple of those like in the can.
They got me this other time, man. So I didn't know this either. There's like something called a grant and aid.
Yeah.
Where that you go in front of the state and you give like your spiel on what you're gonna do with and this woman had this like really good organization, charity had been around for a while. And our foundation was, supporting her, and we were hiring some of the kids, and I was like mentoring some of them and whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, will you come to the Grand Aid meeting? And I was like, well, what am I going to say at the Grand Aid meeting? She's like, just sit there. It's nothing. Yeah, just sit there. She's like, I'm asking, for the whole budget for the year for the state. And she's like, I just want you for support. And then she goes, right before we go, and she goes, you know what? Why don't you take the lead? And I'll just. So I was like,
oh man.
So I was like, talk about pressure, man.
Oh,
like
dude,
all these.
yeah.
She's like, the kids are depending on you.
Like, oh yeah.
So I was like, buckle down. I'm like,
that's brutal.
I went hard, man. I went hard, and they were like, so we ended up getting the grant and doing great stuff with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It was like a miracle. You know what I mean? But she's like, I was like, why did you make me do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's like, one of the reasons I'm successful is I put the right people in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And I knew that you would.
She knew you could do it.
Yeah. I was like, well, I didn't know I could do it. I was like,
just make it work.
it's the last thing I wanted to do, but I just been one of those people I say yes to everything. I think that's how they get me.
I'm like that
You know
now.
what I mean? Like, and that's what I believe. I believe if you say yes to everything, it'll all work itself out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I didn't used to be like that, but
Yeah.
the last few years with everything I've been on, I'm like, you know what, man? I just told myself, like, when something's offered, I'm just going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
If I don't like it, I don't like it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I'm not going to know until I try it.
Yeah. My ideal day would be in my house watching TV and not talking to anybody. So like,
that's mean.
yeah. So like when they ask, I'm like,
yeah,
I'm gonna do it. That comes from AA too. Like in AA, anytime they tell you to do something, that you have to do it. You don't really have a
Well,
choice.
it's pushing yourself.
Yeah, you got to push yourself.
Doing hard
and-
things, it helps.
Yeah, and challenging yourself. Like in a lot of ways, I could just retire and do nothing. But like, I think I'll work till I'm 80.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
If you like what you do.
Yeah, like, and I like the challenges. I like coming up with ideas. I like when my ideas become real.
Yeah.
And I like when I involve people and their lives become better. Like, I like all that. And I like that I have bandwidth and ability to like help and do stuff. But I just have to be careful what I push in on and what I don't. because like people always try and hijack your stuff, and they're like, well,
Yeah.
we think you should do this, or we think I'm like, wait a second, this is what we believe in. We believe in developing the people we work with, making the world a better place, and cooking beautiful, simple food
Yeah.
in no particular order.
Yeah.
So like I have to be real careful, about that. And you got to get like a gatekeeper. You get to a certain point where you got to have a gatekeeper, like
Oh, for sure.
like
dude.
to keep access to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
what
you're
I mean?
bombarded.
Yeah. And a lot of but to be honest, like a lot of it, like they can handle without you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of the charitable donations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like the SoDel Cares, like I started doing everything myself, and then like the next year I brought somebody in, and I brought somebody in. Now I have it where like these 3 capable people are running it without me. You know what I mean? And that's like where you're really doing. I think we gave away like $1 million, and I'm putting $1 million. Not me, but the organization's putting $1 million back into the community, and I really don't have much to do with it at this point.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like,
Yeah.
that's where my actual ability is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to remember that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my actual ability isn't anything else. It's that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm capable of doing, and that's what that's what God wants me to do, and that's what I should be doing. So I can't like think like I'm something that I'm not. You know what I mean? Like I was an honorary commander of Troop 7.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I thought that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought that was like the best thing ever. And I was like, God, can I have a job in law enforcement? Can I have a career in law enforcement? But I think I'm too short tempered. Well, I think I am. You know what I mean? I think I'm too short tempered for it. You know what I mean? But I really enjoyed that. I just think, the whole protect and serve is a big part of kind of like what we're all trying to do in different ways.
For sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I thought more about it. I was like, I'm too independent. You know what I mean? to
You made
do
the
that.
right move, man. You made the right move.
Yeah, well,
You made the right move.
Yeah, I remember for a while we were training guys from SCI, COs would come to wrestling. And we'd work with them and train them, especially in the off season.
Yeah.
So like, you get like 4 or 5, and like, like you grow up your whole life, and you do the training at the academy or whatever. But there's a big difference between grinding, and scrapping, and being, you know what I mean, and having and practicing it, you know what I mean. So we did it. I did it for like maybe 3 years. Like different guys would come, and we would go and just get used to like, you know what I mean, like the whole like
stuff,
double under or underhook, the double wrist. I had to actually study it a little bit because like some of the moves weren't helpful, like the leg attacks and all that stuff. That was of no use, you know what I mean, to the situations they were in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was
You're
mostly
there for like takedowns and holds and
maybe like a high double kind of thing.
Yeah.
I ended up teaching, and a lot of double wrist control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that'll get you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With like a dirty elbow in there. But I think it was how, we did it for a while.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so, that's what I say all the time, like wrestling changed my whole outlook on like people and world. And like, you go to a boardroom and you're like, I'm the poorest one in the boardroom, but I think I could rip that dude's arm off and beat him to death with it. You know what I mean? So like it gives you a little more of a.
I know 100% what you're saying.
Yeah, like I think I'll like literally like ball you up, while people watch. And you have to. It's kind of funny, but it's also kind of serious because like you don't want people bullying you.
Yeah, man.
From that standpoint, you know what I mean? Because like deep down, like if you could scrap and you could defend yourself, then you could stand up for yourself.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
a head
what I
game,
mean?
man. It's about being in control of yourself.
It's totally a head
being
game.
Confident. Yeah.
And I feel like I trained so much just so I didn't get in altercations.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The
like
discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I probably wrestled, I'd say maybe like 25 years. I probably went like 3 or 4 days a week, and trained.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With guys, and because what happens in wrestling, did you wrestle or no?
No, that's like one of the things I didn't do.
Yeah. A lot of people. Well, I mean, trust me, you're probably better off with.
I get into it this year, I think.
Yeah. So it's listen. One of the best life skills you could have is to know how to start a fire and how to wrestle. Those are the two of them. Shoot a gun. If you can do that, you can take care of the rest. So anyway, what happens is, I'm a heavyweight, so you get like the best ranked heavyweight in Delaware, which Cape, we've been fortunate. We've had a lot of good big guys.
Yeah.
But who are you going to train with? If you're
Yeah.
a top 5 guy in Delaware, you're 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Who in the world? You can't train. There's nobody in the school. There's
Right.
only 4 guys in the whole state.
Yeah.
So you rely on people in the community to come in and work with you and train with you. And in wrestling, you have to have somebody better than you, because if you don't,
you're not going to get better.
you're not going to get any better.
Yeah.
So, I did it, for like, and when I was young, it was easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then, like, I started getting in my 30s and 40s.
It's not so easy anymore.
No. My wife's like, "What do you know?" I was like, "I gotta go jog."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta get spice on these knees.
I gotta practice. So then we get this kid. So principal from middle school calls me. It's like, "I got a kid for you," and I've been doing this for a couple decades. And I was like, "Oh yeah, what do you got?" He's like, "You're not gonna believe this. I got a 6th grader." I was like, "6th grader? Come on." I'm like, "I'm a grown man. Like, I'm not gonna be training with a 6th grader." So he goes, "Come and meet him." So I come and meet him. I was like, hairy chest and like forearms. Like, "Hey, coach."
Where's his birth certificate?
I was like, "Bro, this dude is." He ended up being like a multiple All-American. He was a 3-time state champ, and he's probably the best wrestler we've ever had in the area. So he's in 6th grade, and he's like, I want to say he was like 230.
Dang.
And I was like, "Oh," and they were like, "Yeah." And then I started thinking like, I better get it together, because this kid's coming.
He's gonna throw you.
Yeah, he's gonna throw. So I started like, I had to get right back to it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like all those other years, I hadn't trained. You know what I mean? I just went and sparred like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was fine because when you're in your 30s and they're high school, college kids, it's fine because the gap is big enough and they can't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and everything was slow for me to see. So anyway, this kid, I'm like, "Oh man, I better get it together." So I started, getting up in the morning and pushing. So here he comes, and now he's in high school, and we just every day I had to bring it, man. Like I had to bring it. You know what I mean? And we scrapped every day for years, man. And he went to Naval Academy. He was starting heavyweight Naval Academy. I think he's commanding a destroyer now. And but I beat his ass, and I deliberately did it because I knew when he was going to be in college coming back, if I didn't get
he needed that.
and if I didn't get that big brother little brother thing, my life was going to be miserable.
Yeah.
So I had this other kid I trained for years, man, and I just like abused him. So he goes to college and ends up qualifying for NCAAs. Big kid, man, state champ, and we scrapped for years. And so he comes back and he's like, "I want one more shot." He's a senior in college.
Yeah.
He had never taken me down, never scored a point on me. He's like, "I need one more shot." He goes, "I can't." It's just how people are. You know what I mean? He's like, "I can't." And he goes, "I know you're about to age out." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I was getting very selective of giving them opportunities to get me. So I was like, "All right, one more chance." So at the time, Police Athletic League had a wrestling program at Rehoboth Elementary. Benny Mitchell was running it. So I'm like, "All right, meet me at 6:00 tomorrow night, and I'll give you your shot." And he tried so hard, and I barely survived. He like slammed me into the wall, and I like broke my pink. I didn't really break it, but it was like I was like this, and, like a black eye, and I was
What
like,
the hell have I got myself?
I was like,
into?
I'll never give him a shot again. I was like, once you're at, I'm like, you're not getting a shot anymore. So so that was a good one, and So Benny ended up saying to me, he's like, "Oh, I thought he was going to murder you." I was like, "Yeah, well, it was close." So anyway, so that's like been a big part of my life and the whole wrestling thing. So now both my sons are doing it. So my middle son trained a guy last year that won states for Delaware from Cape, and that kid's at the Coast Guard Academy, and they went hard, man. I mean, they went hard, and he had a little bit of he got a concussion. My son got a concussion his senior year. He was ranked 2nd in state, got a concussion and didn't finish the year. So he was like, "You know what?" And this is a really cool, mature way to do it. He's like, "I'm going to give back and try and help someone else."
That's cool, man.
Yeah. So he helped this kid and was like a mentor to him, and that kid won the state title. And you know, something about wrestling when you win a state title, it's like
Yeah.
it changes your whole, you know, whole perspective. And then so, and then my youngest son is helping the kid. The only thing I don't like is this kid's at Sally's. He's helping,
Oh, yeah.
like the Cape Sally's things, like,
Yeah.
right. But anyway, he's at UD, and he helped the kid at St. Mark's, and that kid won the state title last year, and now he's helping this kid at Sally's. So
That's cool, man.
yeah, I gotta let it go.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah. The whole rival thing. I get
yeah,
it,
it's like a rival thing. So you know, he's been, you know, so my family, that's. You give back, you don't, you know, we do it for free. We, you know, if you could change your life. I always say the joke, it's just one less kid that's going to mug me when I'm 80. You know what I mean? In the back of the tram. It's one less kid that's going to, like, you know, try and take my wallet, you know? Because, you know, you get the knuckleheads in the sport. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what, these last couple kids, though, have been squared away. The one that went to the Naval Academy, one of the Coast Guard, just totally
obviously,
incredible,
yeah, that's
squared
great.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, historically, we've gotten some knuckleheads. You know
I
what
mean,
I mean?
that's bound to happen.
Yeah. Which has been great because those
Okay.
are the ones that really need it, you know?
So I do have one question for you before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I babbled too long, man.
Oh,
I'm
no, you're
sorry,
good,
man.
dude.
Yeah.
I could sit here all day.
Yeah.
What do you think Matt would say if he were here right now? If he came back and said, saw what you had done with the business?
I would think he'd be like, "Oh, you think you're so smart?" You know what I mean? Like, you know, Matt was from the School of Hard Knocks and love.
Yeah.
I think like, you know, he would be incredibly proud, and you know, I think it through like my vision for what the company is now is going to be
Different than what he had planned.
yeah, and then what the next person does is going to be different too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Matt really loved everything. And a lot of it we talked about, you know what I mean? But like here, it's been 15 years almost. Wait, no, 11, 12 years, whatever. So like we didn't talk that much about what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like we had the next couple years planned out, 3 to 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it
here
sounds
we
like
are.
you brought in a lot what he was about, which is like giving back.
Yeah. I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
we were very similar in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. I mean, like we were both Scorpios. We were both in recovery. You know, we were both like into hand-to-hand combat stuff. But anyway, so we were very similar in a lot of ways. I think like I added a softness that you need to get beyond a certain level.
Yeah.
So like if you're hard when you're you know small, you got to be like that. But
Yeah.
once you get to a little bigger, you got to let go and be a little more like, you know, I love you, you could do it, what do you need,
Right.
kind of thing, like, you know. And he was changing cuz he was in his mid 50s, so he was softening. So, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, and he was always proud of me. He always said I did a good job, you know what I mean? Even though he would challenge me and be like,
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, he was like, you know, I'm always proud of you, and
Yeah.
you know,
But he was challenging you for a reason.
yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
I loved it. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you want to like,
Yeah.
like give me a, where's the mountain? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where's the hill? Let's take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I needed someone like that. And there's a lot of people that are mission driven, but they don't have any missions.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you need somebody to
Gotta
give
have
you
purpose.
You got to have purpose, and
Yeah.
you got to have somebody to get. And you can't always do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and you need somebody looking at and being like, all right, here's what we need to do. So you know, he was always great about that, and I think he'd be proud of it. I'll tell. We got time. I'll tell you one story.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is the Matt's Fish Camp story. So
I love Matt's.
it's the best.
My in-laws go there for dinner every Thursday.
Yeah. So Matt was going to somewhere. Maybe it was India. So we had 2 deals working. We were either going to do a restaurant on 2nd Street in Lewis. This would have been our 5th restaurant. Or May 5th. So we were going to do, there was one on 2nd Street in Lewis, and then there was this restaurant in North Bethany.
Yeah.
It was called the Garden something. It's where Matt's is now. So this is like 2006, maybe 7. And I was like, all right, which one you want to do? And he was like, blah, 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 blah. You know, I was like, oh, wait, what? I can't hear you. And he's like getting on the plane to go, you know, to do this thing for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? He's going to Pakistan. So I was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what he said. And then I like tried to email him 3 or 4 times. And then both landlords came to me and were like, you got to decide today. And I was like, we'll do the North Bethany one. So I was like, great. So We start construction. We're working on it. I get the permits. Here it is a month and a half later. Matt comes back. He goes, hey, come over to the house. I want to drive. I haven't driven in a month and a half. Let's go check out the new restaurants. Oh, cool. Yeah, I want you to be proud of me. I want and trust me. That's all I ever wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was for someone to give me something to do and say I did a good job. So he pulls out. He makes a left like he's going to Lewis. We're in Rehoboth. He's making a left. I'm like, where are you going? He goes, oh, we bought a restaurant on 2nd Street and Grill. You're working on it. 2nd Street in Lewis. I was like, no, we did the one in North Bethany. It's like, you fucking idiot. No one ever told you to do that. You think you're so smart. I was like, what? So I'm like, that's it. I quit. I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, I can't deal with this shit, man. And I was like, this is it. So where's this bullshit in Bethany? So I tell him, he's like, I don't even know where that is. So we can start driving down there. I'm like, I'm going to jump out of this car. You know what I mean? Like, if he stops at a light, I'm going to jump out. And so we pull in. He goes, is this it? I go, yeah, this is it. And then at the time, I was like backpedaling. I was like, well, no, we're going to name it Matt's. We're going to name it after you. He's like, Dad, yeah, Matt. So anyway, we pull in. He gets out. He goes, is this it? I go, yeah. He starts crying. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Like, am I getting fired and beat up or, then he starts hugging me. He's like, we stayed here when I was 8 in the cottages behind, and I dreamt someday that I would own this restaurant, and it's been my goal, and I've been afraid to tell anybody my whole life, but this is what I've been working towards, but I didn't want to do it because I was scared.
That's wild.
And I was like, we got it. You know what I mean? There were people working on it, and he was like,
that's wild.
He was like, all right, yeah, all right. And then he just was like, all right, we're going to paint it brown. We're going to draw up a thing. You know what I mean? And he worked there the first night, and it was like the thing he was like most proud of. And so it's like, very small. This is the one in North Bethany. It's very small. And it had a bunch of names. That's why he didn't like.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the address, and I didn't know.
Yeah,
what I mean? It was just like, and we got it for $1. And because it had failed so miserably. And it had changed names, so he didn't know the name, and I didn't know the name, and whatever. So here I go from being like, you're so proud of me, to being an idiot, you hate me, and then to being like, you fulfilled a lifelong dream. So anyway, so it opens, line out the door. One of the few places I've ever opened that just printed from the minute it opened, and so he passes away. And the first restaurant I'm going to open is Matt's Fish Camp in Lewis to honor him. I want to do it. And it's the first restaurant I ever did completely by myself. And, a blood vessel burst in my eye because I was so stressed out. And I was standing in the middle of the dining room like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, my God, what was that? So that's the level that I was at. You know what I mean? So we get open. All the lights are on. Everything's beautiful. I take a picture of it, and I text it to his phone. He'd been dead now for a little while.
Yeah.
And I texted to his phone and say, I just want you to know, I know you don't know this, I want you to know that I built this restaurant, and I want you to be proud of me. And I get a text back because I guess it had gotten reassigned.
Yeah.
And it said, you did a great job. I'm proud of you. I'm sure it was some stranger.
That is awesome, dude.
That had no idea. Yeah. And they could have totally ignored it.
Yeah. They sent back the greatest message.
Also, at the time, I didn't know you could reassign numbers. Like, I didn't know that's how it worked. You know, like now you text people and you're like, oh, who this? I got the new phone. You know what I mean? But they texted back and they were like, after that, I never texted them again. But they were like, oh, we're so proud of you. It looks beautiful. You should be proud of yourself.
Dude, that's a fucking awesome
Oh, yeah,
story.
it was awesome. Yeah. But I'll never forget. I mean, I'll never forget him crying and hugging me. And I was like, what? Am I fine? And it's like, dude, we're part of this, but you work for me. That's what they always say to me. I'm like, all right. And
that's great, man.
Yeah. And anyway, so I was like, what a roller coaster of a day. But it wasn't boring, and that level of like excitement and bootstrapping is like, but you can't keep that up forever. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at some point you have to get like a corporate trainer and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
a CPA, and that's kind of where we're at now.
That comes with growth. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes with growth, so you gotta. But you know, I think the happiest times were when you're scrappy and young and on the come up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When you're the kid and everybody, you know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you're like, you know, the most successful and you know the stakes end up being higher, and but it's fine. You know, you're up for the challenge. But I just remember those days of being like, you know, how are we gonna make payroll? Like, how are we gonna do this? Or how are we
Yeah.
gonna do that? Or you know, the oven broke. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? And you know, and always just moving forward. You know what I mean? Don't take a step back.
Yeah.
You know, like take ground and continue to move forward. And you know, and I'd say that's the biggest lesson. And you know, we had someone one time stole some money from us at this project we were doing, and Matt goes, "Hey, come by and pick me up." I was like, "Okay," and he goes, "I'm wearing flip flops and shorts. I have to change the boots because, you know, I don't. If I kick someone's ass, I don't want to be wearing flip flops." I said, "Oh, why? You might hurt your toe." He goes, "No, I just think it's going to be really hard on somebody that gets their ass kicked by an old dude in flip flops." I was like, "Oh, that's very conscientious of you, like to think that." So that
Forward
was
thinking.
Yeah, that was very forward thinking. You know what I mean? Like you're not thinking about yourself. He's like, "I just think emotionally they couldn't, you know, they would be very difficult for
It's
them."
very thoughtful of
Yeah,
him.
very, very thoughtful of you. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that was, you know, that was that. So, but anyway, I appreciate you having me, man, and I hope
Yeah,
I
man,
hope
I'm-
somebody got some insight.
Oh, for sure,
and,
man.
you
I'm glad
know,
you came on. Like I said,
Yeah.
SoDel fucking kills. I love all your guys' restaurants.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You guys do a great job. You do great things for the community. My
Yeah.
family involved. So
Yeah, and you know, I think people sometimes forget like there's humans behind this. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
man.
Like there's a dude behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like making decisions and
Yeah.
saying what needs to be done and
Yep.
what not. You know, and I think like you know. That's one of the good things about this area. Like you can get to know some local people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not just some corporate. You know, like you know where I'm from in Jersey, you didn't know anybody that ran shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like you didn't know like you never had access to.
Yeah, it's great here, man.
Yeah.
The community here is
Yeah.
fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great.
So,
It's great for businesses. So
yeah, happy to see you doing so good and successful. So.
appreciate you, man. Yeah, thanks
All
for
right.
coming on, brother.
All right, man.
Thanks.